6:30, I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Green Mountain Water Sanitation District, February 11th, 6:30. Start with a roll call. I'm Karen Morgan, present.
Dave Wakeman, present.
Art Martinez, present.
Roger Wendell, present. Randy Little, present.
And with us in person this
In person.
Good, we have a quorum. Are there any directors, matters, disclosures tonight? See none. Any changes to the agenda? I don't see any there either.
I do have a question on the agenda, but tell me when that's proper, that's that question.
Right now.
Right now? I would like to know who makes out the agenda. Who creates the agenda and puts it on the website?
Okay, that's just, can I go over that process with you later?
Yeah, but I need to know during.
Well, these are things that you needed to know beforehand. If you would like to change the agenda.
No.
So that's something that you need to catch up on after the meeting. So that's an inappropriate
Okay,
to do now.
okay,
Today, if you had a change to the agenda, that's what we would be doing now.
okay.
Okay.
That makes sense, okay.
All right, so we are moving on to public comment. 5 minutes per person, and I will start again with people in the room.
We'll defer to you, Bill.
Is anybody online would like to raise their hand and have comment? Lynn Miller, we saw you unmute there for a minute. Do you want to say anything tonight? Anybody? All right, going and gone for public comment.
Wait a minute.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hi, guys. I'm having a hard time here. Can you tell?
We can hear you now.
All right, good. I'm just having a hard time. My mute button, this, that, it's just one of those nights, right? Look at you guys are all bundled up. Is it cold out there? Was that a silly question? All right. Good evening, Director Morgan. How are you? Oh, we're not supposed to talk, right? Okay. Hi, Director Whiteman. Director Wendell, Director Little, Director Martinez. Let's see. Oh, yep, Dylan. Hello, Dylan. And Josh is in line. I can't see who's manning the computer, so whoever's back there, hello, Jesse or Sam. I can't believe you guys made it tonight in the bitter cold, but I'm glad you did. I have my gas fireplace on. I'm waiting for the city of Lakewood to come knocking at my door to tell me my gas fireplace has to be removed and I must replace it with an electric fireplace. My cat will not be happy. She likes the ambience. I'm sure she would really love a log burning fireplace, as I would. This HVAC man told me that my gas fireplace is more efficient than my heater, as my heater has many burners to ignite, but my gas fireplace only has a few. Okay, my sarcasm is over now. All right, looking at the agenda, I am so excited. We may be approving a new lobbyist. That's great. With the state legislator voting on unbelievable, ridiculous legislation, yes, we need to be able to stay ahead of them. My cat's gonna knock everything over. I'm fighting with her as I'm talking. Kitty, no. I just wish that some of these other water districts would chip in and help pay for this, as it's benefiting them when Green Mountain informs them of legislation that will affect their districts. Kitty. Green Mountain Water needs to discuss with Denver Water the importance of building, was it 2 Forks in Denver? Or no, Deckers? that they tried to build previously. With the way
Years ago.
Denver had and Lakewood has gone developer crazy by allowing out-of-state builders to build, we need water. You can never have enough water, as we saw in California, unfortunately, especially when you have Mother Nature helping you with snowpack. Now, on the federal center, as long as our crews don't have to work on that property to make repairs, I don't think Green Mountain has a choice. The city of Lakewood is again allowing corporate welfare. They should do city work and not enter into charity work, corporate welfare, or no, yeah, trying to be a bank loaning money to, of course, developers. I was trying to find an article I read a while back regarding, I thought it was in northern Colorado, the land or the house, something was contaminated. The residents couldn't sell their properties and the Metro District just booked out of town. I'm going to keep looking for that article. I just hope it doesn't happen to the federal center. There should be something that is in writing that they can't do something like that. They can't leave that property and leave the residents high and dry. And on the ravine, here we go again, right? I'm wondering if one of the board members, or maybe all the board members, should attend a city council meeting and stand up in front of them and call them out. Ask them why they haven't approved your permit. Put them on the spot. Tell them that you're impeding your easement rights to repair the pipe. Does the city council even know that this is going on? And are they choosing to ignore the issue? All right, I think I've gotten your ears already red and tired. I'll let you guys go. Have a good one. Keep warm. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, I don't see any other hands.
You beat that?
Did you have something? Okay. That looks like the end of public comment. So we can move on to approval of the January 14th minutes. Is there a motion or discussion for that?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Thank you, Director Martinez. Anybody? Seconded, Director Little. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Randy, you okay with, yes?
Yes. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Unanimous approval? All right. Financial matters?
Okay. Excuse me. Again, just a general reminder that a lot of our financial documents do not end up on the website. It's because of the American Disabilities Act requirements to make those kinds of documents accessible. And it's quite the technological hurdle. And I'm not pressuring staff. I do call upon them occasionally just to see where we're at on this. And it's a bit of a ways off because of the technology issue. Point being though, if you need any of the financial information, the documents that should be on the website but are not, feel free to contact me or the office or come into the office and that documentation can be made available to you. As far as financials in general and the statements that Doug has provided me and everybody else through this office, everything is pretty much usual and customary. We remain surprisingly solvent, and I pick out a few things each meeting that I find of interest. And I'll go through my notes here just briefly and not try to put everybody to sleep. Something that caught my attention this time around is our HRA health reimbursement. And Doug went to great lengths to try to explain this to me. I think I understand it, but it sounds like the district has an auxiliary policy to assist employees when they don't meet their deductible on health expenses. It's not a whole lot of money we're talking about. I think the amount of $2,000 so far for this year. But it's a kind of coverage I'm not familiar with. I'll look into it further. It's nothing to be alarmed about. It's just something that caught my eye as far as expenses.
2025?
2024.
2024.
Let's
Two
see,
thousand cover the whole year, or is it just 1 month?
I think that's for the whole year unless,
Fiscal year 24.
Sam,
So we started that fund when, probably 4 years ago, when we switched health plans. We switched health plans to a health plan that had double out-of-pocket expense of the previous plan. So to compensate for that, this the new health agency that we're switched to offers this subsidiary plan where you can fund an amount, then if your employees go over a certain amount, it will fund the rest of their out of pocket. So essentially, we were able to switch onto a plan that had a much higher out of pocket cost, but then pad that for the employees so that there was less of a change in out of pocket cost increase.
So is it 2,000 for a month or for a year?
It is, so it is a pooled money that is refilled as it is utilized. So as far as the 2,000, I think that was probably a payment to get it back up to its maximum amount after last year.
Yeah, so it's one claim for that 2,000, but that was the difference between the old out of pocket and the new out of pocket, which is the point of the HRA to fund that. And like Sam said, that was one claim for the entire company. So we have 22 employees. There's one claim made, $2,000. That's extremely high ratio for success, and that's why the district decided to invest in that.
Is your out of pocket expense?
So for an individual, depends on the plan. But for individuals on our most common plan, the EPO plan, it's 2,000 out of pocket or max out of pocket. And that's what that's where the HRA kicks in to what the actual plan is 4,000. So that's a $2,000 max. The individual that took this claim had a family, so their coverage is larger.
And just out of curiosity, who is your insurance carrier?
So we go through CEBT. It's a pooled insurance through special districts in Colorado. They also offer that plan to a bunch of other smaller companies, but mostly it's special district type companies that are involved in that plan. And it is quite large, and I will say we do get very great rates, and the insurance increases per year have been much lower than market.
Okay. The way you described it kind of reminds me of a retainer with a law firm. When you go below a certain amount, you need to refresh it. And it's like, okay, I understand the concept of refreshing it. Now, that being said, how many times do we need to refresh it? Once a year for 2,000, or every week for 2,000, or somewhere in between?
Sure. So what happened was we started with this plan, the HRA. It's a health reimbursement arrangement. Back when we first enrolled with CEBT, excuse me, back in 2018. And it took us 3 years to get fully funded to where if every single employee in the district fully utilized that fully funded plan would be depleted and we'd have to reimburse that. We have not even come remotely close to that since then. So that 2,000, so to put it in more of a scale here, so that to fully fund that plan, it's about $90,000. So over 3 years, I think we fully funded it in 3 years. So we got up to that 90,000. We have not reimbursed that since then. And I think we're down to about maybe 81,000 that are still funded in that plan.
The $2,000 would have been annual. Correct, Doug?
Correct. That was the full funding for the 2024 plan year.
There we go. Manual number 30. Thank you.
So I understand it almost completely. And I don't, I don't wanna waste a lot of our time on it, but it seems reasonable and prudent, and it sounds like it's a good protection for the employees. So I'm not complaining about it, it's just something I caught on the spreadsheet.
Yeah, especially $2,000 a year, no big deal. Those $2,000 a month, I'm like, that's something to think about.
And, I mean, there's programs out there like Catholic. Pick up beyond what your insurance doesn't cover. I don't know if they'd ever been into that or, I mean,
And we do offer Aflac as well.
say that covers anything on and above your deductibles.
Correct.
But in general, Doug and staff in general are very good at watching costs and these kinds of things. So I'm gonna bring up another very small example that caught my eye in the financials this time around, and that was the welding tanks. We're renting welding tanks at no great expense, but the question I had for the staff, and they've answered me, why are we doing that? And they've actually gone to some great lengths to do a cost analysis and have determined it's cheaper to rent this stuff as opposed to having our own tanks, storing our own gases and those kinds of things. But it's interesting, if you ever get a chance to look at the financials, again, if you stop by the office, ask for a copy or take a look, a lot of these interesting details surface. Another detail that surfaced relates to the owl, and that's this device here that's watching all of us during the meeting. That came in at a cost of $2,000. And I asked the staff about that. It didn't include any additional hardware, but let's see, it did include software. And software is not cheap, that's for sure. But apparently this version of the owl would be a lot more reliable and more user-friendly than the last one. Moving on through the list, something else that caught my eye was the John Deere tractor, or a skid steer, if that's what you call it. We purchased a brand new one for $48,000 last month. But it seemed reasonable and prudent, replaced an older worn out model. And it looks like it'll be money well spent. But in a nutshell, we're in good shape. I continue to look at these little things throughout the spreadsheets, and if anything is in question, I'll certainly bring it to the attention of the rest of you. That's my report.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to accept.
I'll second it.
Okay, we are accepting both the daily and monthly operating expenses and the unaudited financial and investment reports. Okay, I assume that was your motion and seconded by Director Little. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous approval and motion passes. Do we have a manager report tonight? Thank you, Roger.
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
All right, great. Sorry. Yeah, sick household right now, so I apologize. Sam, if you can let me know when the report's up. So if you can let me know when the report is up.
Second. Get it downloaded right now. That's up.
Actually, I think I can get it right here. You able to see my screen? Okay.
Yep, you can see it.
Okay, great. I did not hear. Okay, yeah. So cover sheet here. new year. Maintenance has begun. It's been a cold month. We had a couple of main breaks, just getting everything ready to rock and roll for this upcoming summer.
Just out of curiosity, when we have these breaks, is it a map? Well, I think I know the answer is, you say a main break. Ordinarily, when it gets cold like this, people aren't paying attention, they have breaks in their house. And that's kind of their fault. Main break is not that, it's out there in the big world, and is there any way we can anticipate where they might come and head them off before they happen?
Unfortunately, no. If we could, that would be amazing. But no, it just depends on the condition of the pipe. They just let loose from time to time. So there's not really anything we can do. We could try to predict a little bit based on trending data to get out in front of those with the mainline replacements, which we're working towards right now. We've got several on the docket for this year to replace in anticipation of something like that
Well,
occurring.
the other thing comes to mind, knowing when it comes to your own house, one of the things you can do, of course, is, open up your cabinet so the air can get to the pipes. And you can turn your water on and let it drip, 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 because then that's less likely to freeze. Are there little preventative methods like that we can do for main lines?
Unfortunately, no, we are, the only preventative thing that can be done is just in the design standards. So that's why in Colorado and in many other cold weather states, they have a minimum bury depth of 4.5 feet. That gets you under frost line and out of that, as much as you can be out of that swelling and contracting zone, because as that soil freezes and thaws, it shrinks and expands. And if the older cast iron lines don't have any sort of bedding material, they're subject to that movement, in which
Okay, well,
causes.
now you got me thinking, so if you're repairing a break, can you enhance it? Like put in insulation and stuff like that, so it's bigger and better than it was before?
The area that we touch, that we dig up for the repair, yes, we put our clamp or new pipe in, however we have to do the repair, and then we bed that area. So in essence, yes, that area that we dug up is enhanced.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, 2 main breaks for January. 474 South Wright Street. That was ground movement. And 1022 South Arbutus Street, same situation there, just ground movement. And it's usually after the heavy cold weather, when everything starts warming up a little bit, that's when they pop. So not too bad to start off the year. Our pink pump station, which feeds our main commercial area, which is the pink zone, St. Anthony's Hospital, all up and down Union there. The emergency generator is online and currently experiencing its weekly tests in anticipation that we would need emergency power. So that's one item knocked off the list for 2025. We had a list of some depreciated equipment that we sent off to that roller auction to get max value out of those items for money coming back into the district. We had some pumps and like an old trailer, things like that we just aren't utilizing anymore. So we figured we would, rather than let them sit around and lose value, we sent them off to auction. And we'll report back on that. I think in March we'll have those numbers in for what we got for those. Our emergency pump that we got for Our trailer mounted pump that we got for large backups and things like that was delivered. We are in the process of designing a tie-in connection for both existing lift stations that in an event that there's a pump failure or power failure and then emergency power failure, we have the ability to move that water from the wet well to its desired location. So that's just another enhancement we're making to that part of the system for any sort of issues and to reduce our risk and liability there. Union Ridge Lift Station, we recently installed some pumps in there that we got in 2024. Those pumps were 25 years old, so they were due for replacement due to how corrosive wastewater is with the H2S and methane and other gases that they're exposed to. And we will be doing Tamarisk Lift Station later on this year. So just continuing to upgrade our assets. Does anybody have any questions on any of those items?
I don't see any so far.
Okay. Development reviews, Fletcher Miller, the pre-con was had, and they are currently installing the water main over there to support the new school once it comes online. They've done about halfway. Once school is out, they're going to install the rest, and then they will. We don't have an exact schedule yet, but they will be putting the new school online at some point. I think later this year, maybe early 26. We haven't got to that stage yet, but that's in progress right now. 12364 West Alameda, which is behind the Starbucks on Alameda. The sewer monitoring equipment has been deployed and they are collecting data right now. So once we receive that information, that'll be passed off to the modeling team with Olson, and they will see what impact that potential development has on the system.
Can you flesh out what does sewer monitoring mean to me? I know it's monitoring sewer, but no, seriously, what
So
does that
what they're gonna do is we have some meters that will analyze the flows, and it will measure existing conditions. So we have a really good idea of when they were to potentially connect based on the engineered information we get from them on their anticipated flows. All those numbers get put together and it spits out what impact each one of those segments that they connect to downstream will have based on our 0.70 over D.
Okay. I'm trying to understand. Now I was thinking, how can you monitor something that's not there? Because it's just an empty lot right now. But what you're saying is you're monitoring points along the line all the way down to kind of see what the overall capacity, the whole line is from this spot to the end?
We're monitoring one location and collecting what the actual flows are at that point.
I guess I'm saying is at the point that they're talking about, there's nothing there with parking lot.
Well, they got to tie into our main sewer. I believe it's, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it on Alameda Drive? Right there by, say, AutoZone, potentially?
So that meter is going in there by AutoZone, so it's
Yeah.
monitoring the existing flows. And then we calculate what additional impact their flows would have. In addition to us existing.
And the existing flows is those buildings right around the parking lot. Okay.
Mainly the apartment complex back on there.
Yeah, the existing flows from that point all the way down to the metering station.
That part sounded like what I said before, but the line, it's a long line, lots of points along the line. I'm measuring the whole line from top of the hill to the bottom of the hill.
We're measuring 2 points along that line to gauge that. The other portions of the line are fully modeled right now.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So we can use the data on this branch line to form a better idea of what's happening outside of the show. Fully modeled. Okay.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
done.
so that's, I'm not exactly sure when we'll know the results, once we get the data from the consultant that will collect all of that for us, and we'll pass that off to Olson. We'll get a timeline from them on what their, how long it's gonna take them to run the model.
And your next one, 533 Van Gordon, that's the Point Athletic Club?
Correct.
And so the same thing, you're measuring something at that spot to another spot, but not the whole line, just first segment or something?
Yeah, it's gonna monitor again where their potential point of connection would be into the existing sewer, which has flow on it. It collects that information. We have, like Sam said, the rest of the line is already modeled. It'll just validate what potential impact they have.
Well, and the Point Athletic Club is in the middle of that old West Hills apartment, so is the measuring before or after the apartments, does that somehow enter into this?
It'll be the meter there is going in right at the Union, where that'll tie into Union. It'll be all the flow from that complex and surrounding.
So it includes all the West Hills. A lot of flow.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Yep, and we had one ADU request, and we sent them the development information, and that's kind of where we're at there. There is nothing concrete on that one.
By the way, how much is the 533 Van Gordon seeking? What's their anticipated size? How many
I think
units?
they're right around 300, something like that, 350. It's just gonna depend on, I would imagine, on what sort of information they get from us. Cause I think they're like a modular type build, so they're not, it's not gonna be just a one giant building. It's the way I understand it.
Well, it's been in the mix on the horizon for years. And one of the various iterations I saw was kind of like micro apartments. Not the usual size apartments, so that way they could get a whole lot of separate doors in the same site, so.
We'll have to wait and see what they come up with. It's not there yet.
Yeah, very preliminary. Just an update on the 2024 IRP. Like I said, stated previously, everything is done except final asphalt restoration on Mississippi Court. And once we get a nice window of 50-degree and rising temperatures, they're gonna go out and finish that off. That'll be like a day or a day and a half, and that'll be done.
They say Mississippi Court, that's up by me,
Yep,
if I wanna keep driving by,
yep,
it's still not done,
just the asphalt.
okay?
So
Yeah.
Josh, do they resurface the entire street or just where they did the work? You know what I mean,
So,
from curb to curb?
yeah, City of Lakewood, the law on that street, it depends on where they are in their maintenance cycle for their streets, but this particular street is a crown to edge of right of way, so it's a half mill. So they'll mill the half of the road that we did our work on and then overlay it with fresh asphalt.
Like Director Whiteman, I drive there, by there quite a bit. Does the new Google line that they've installed there, does that interfere with what you've been doing? Does that get in the way?
It's becoming a problem, yes.
And not to waste everybody's time, but in summary, how do you get around that? It looks like it crosses over our pipes.
Yeah, so it's very shallow. Some areas it's actually in the asphalt. Some areas it is just below. Um, it's my understanding that the city of Lakewood has a special use right away for this type of installation. And they take responsibility for damage that would occur to their fiber optic line because of the way it's installed. You know, I've requested that information from the city and I have not received it yet, but you know, we want to make sure that we understand it as a utility because as we all know, we've had some main breaks that have really done a number on the asphalt, so that more than likely will affect that fiber line. And if we have to cut, we have to
Interesting
cut through the
question.
asphalt, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like water would take priority over the television connections.
Yeah.
We'll
And I mean,
see.
it's gonna be a problem later on when they need to mill and resurface their roads, they're gonna have fiber there in some areas.
For those that aren't familiar, you can see like a 2-inch wide strip going all the way up Mississippi. Crossing over our lines and everything else. Well, we'll see how it pans out. Thanks,
Yep.
Josh.
Yeah, I'm yeah, waiting, like I said, waiting for that right away permit. Right away use permit from the city, just so we can get a better understanding. The 2025 IRP, the water side is in the design process. So we're moving along. That's been submitted to Lakewood, it's been submitted to Denver Water, so we're, I think we've got approval from West Metro Fire already, so that's it's moving along quickly. The sewer end of it, the bidding was done last month. And in tonight's agenda, we're looking for the signing of the notice of award to Inliner. They were the low bidder. We had 4 bids, which was for that type of an installation, it was a pretty good turnout. The bid did come in much lower than expected. I think it was a little over half of what was anticipated. So we have some room there to maybe do a little bit more on top of what was designed.
445, 500.
For all the bids low or just one?
They were all, I think Sam has the bid tabulation in the room there. I think from 1 to 4, it was, I want to say around like 60,000 separating them. But Inliner, you know, they're a big player as far as lining pipe goes. So they've, you know, they should be very efficient.
I'm sorry, just keep that.
Well, what I'm looking for is it some sort of market situation that's improved overall? Yay, that's great. Or do we have one outlier really low? And that always makes me a little suspicious is if one guy's really out there, you don't automatically take him just because he's low.
Yeah, no, you know, it completely agree with that statement. You know, we have the option to award it to the low bidder or nobody. So the fact that
Well,
all
and
the
you can actually go with the high bidder. It's the
yes,
overall. It's not a
correct.
requirement that you go with the low bidder. You
No.
go with the best bidder. Sometimes it's low and sometimes it's not.
Yep. And in this case, they were, you know, they were the lowest and they are one of the best. So it was a good bid.
Looks like we're within 20% on all of these.
Yeah.
That's a good size.
And Josh, I don't wanna hold anything up here tonight, but you know, our normal practice is generally to have that kind of presentation and side by side beforehand and possibly have the engineer here to discuss the pros and cons of which one we want to go with. So that those kind of questions can be addressed before we get the notice of award picked out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make sure, I'll make sure that happens on the next time. Would you like to hold off? I mean, it's gonna,
I do not, but unless anybody else does, but this is. We have had that, like I said, in the past, so that we can say. We've had
Yeah.
problems with this company, let's go with that company, or hear the engineers say why they are picking not the lowest bid or whatever it is. So is this a motion because it's so much?
I moved it,
Yeah,
yeah, accepted
there
one.
needs to be a motion to issue the notice of award.
All right, the motion was made by Director Wendell, is there a second?
Okay.
Director Rickman seconds, any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous approval, motion carries.
Thanks, Josh.
yeah, and I will, yeah, for the water end, I will definitely make sure we have RG available to come in and you guys can ask all the questions you may need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, that wasn't on that was for later on the agenda. All right. I have word, but. Josh, were you done? Kind of interrupted.
Yep, no, that was it. If anybody had any follow-up questions or anything like that, that you need answered.
Nope. Looks good, thank you very much. All right, well, that was item 8A we just voted on, or 8B, but we can go back to 8A for the discussion about the lobbyist.
I just
Yes.
wanted to say. Few things. I think I asked you before whether things are already happening. And you said you thought they were. And whether they are or not, doesn't matter. I think we still need to get ahead of it. But things were starting to happen. I'm a little curious. I got on the website to see what the legislature's doing. And this was the only one I could see that seemed to be relevant. And it did strike me that it was affecting us at this point. So what am I missing? I mean, if it's a matter of let's be prepared, I agree. But if it's something's already happening, I missed it.
No. There's a couple. Let me back up. I did catch hold of a lobbyist. We have been asking and looking for a lobbyist. So this one did come recommended. And it's two firms working together. So they are, and we met with them and they have actually spent longer questioning us. They got a lot of details. About what is going on in the tap fee, what is going on the tap fee specifically. So one, in general, like I agree with you saying that we have been keeping an eye out for things coming up in the district legislatively so that we don't get caught flat-footed. However, we are already caught a little flat-footed because they are, things are happening. Former city councilor Rebecca Stewart is introducing legislation on tap fees once again.
That's my question.
Yes.
This is the one she's introduced it. It's not tap fees. I don't see anything else. I tried looking up anything for her
And
and it didn't have anything else. So what am I missing?
you are missing that we haven't sent it around. Which I can do if I find it, which I don't have right away. So they met with us. Thursday, not Thursday, and Friday. And they had said it just came out in their inbox. She needs another co-sponsor in the Senate.
Yeah, that's the thing I was noticing is she doesn't have any co-sponsors, she's all by herself. And
She has specifically said that she will be bringing in tap fee legislation when she talked to the Special District Association.
okay, so she hasn't brought it in yet, that's why I'm not seeing it.
I don't know if it's gonna be on this or not. I got the, do you have the number there?
This one is,
Legislative
this one is 25, 1093.
25,074.
So different, it's a different one that has
Okay.
not got fleshed out yet. They're just doing the drafts. But they've already met with stakeholders. It's coming. We knew it was coming, so it's not a surprise. So the point is, we've got a lobbyist and they will be looking at it. For that bill, they can keep us up to date on everything else that's going on. This other thing that, Dave has is about the high density kind of building, all of the affordable home legislation that will go on at the state will be affecting us because it will be affecting our density and our infrastructure capacity. Not that they will ask us, but it will be impacting our infrastructure.
So that's what I was wondering, if I was missing, because I was looking for tap fees and stuff like that last time. And there was nothing about tap fees. There's all this other stuff that's kind of affecting development, but not technically water. So that's why I'm like, what am I missing?
Anybody have questions so far?
I just would like to know who met with this guy.
I did.
Okay, do you think that he should be brought into the board here and have us drill him?
It is completely up to you. They will not start working for us until we sign a contract.
Right. I would
So-
expect that, yeah.
What I did
I don't
do,
know what everybody's, thought is on that. I just, I don't know if I know you work diligently on this, but I don't know if we looked hard enough for the right person for us.
Well, this has been a problem in the past.
Yeah,
We haven't had many to choose from.
right.
we still don't have any. This is your choice. And I gave you this choice before when we.
I wasn't here before, that's why I
No,
was,
you were a couple months ago when we made the decision not to hire Andrew, the
yeah,
lobbies that we had,
that one.
that
But
was
not
just now.
before when you got him.
No, so that was your decision, we could be hiring that
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
or not.
yeah. At that
This is
time.
this is another option, and at that time made it clear, anybody who can find one, I had not been able to
I
find
hear-
one,
I
it is
hear-
up to you to
I
bring.
hear-
So
What is
this
this
is your
person's
choice.
name?
They are Katina Weaver and Heidi Morgan, no relation, and that's her married name anyway. Yeah. So there, like I said, two firms,
And what have we done in the past for water boards?
they have done. Not a lot with water. They did one, fee issue with Ken Carroll Metro District.
The other question I have with the 60,000 that they're asking, is that for a year? And is there extra expenses on top of it? Could there be extra expenses on top? I guess I'm saying. Is that just a retainer for them, or then they charge you, X amount for anything they do?
That's pretty inclusive.
Okay, I just,
Special, if they need to charge us for some special exhibit or something. that
I'm just
may
curious,
come up.
yeah.
60,000 is the same as we did for the other person, so,
Yeah.
I did not haggle, that was just what there was. This. Because we were anticipating being able to do this during the summer, we were trying to get things together.
Yeah.
Dylan had already worked on draft agreements. So that if we got another district interested in lobbying with us and joining a coalition against this tap fee legislation, there would be a mechanism for them to contribute financially.
And they did or didn't respond yet, or?
We haven't asked outside districts to do that yet.
Okay.
Since we don't have the contract, so we can start building that as soon as we have it, if we do, but Dylan already has that ready to go and has drafted a couple things, and I didn't really understand the back and forth. My head's not been in the game here. I have been sick, so I'm counting on Dylan to do his usual thorough job, and it was good. So there is that mechanism built in place, and these guys were amenable to doing that. So if we got another district, and we did not have that lined up last time, if Alameda wanted to join us, they could contribute financially, or if the coalition said it's just worth it for you to sign your name on, then these guys would be able to look like we've got greater numbers than just us. So we've got it all ready. So maybe some cost savings. But in the meantime, they will serve as our full purpose lobbyist for everything else. So it's a better deal than we got before.
They've been so torn on this because the state legislature just doesn't seem to have regular folks and districts in mind at all. So I like the idea of having a lobbyist, but it just doesn't seem to be very effective, and I'm not trying to poke holes into this. I just remain torn.
Well, it saved our bacon last year. It was a half-ass effort, but when it was all said and done, it came to the rescue, and it worked out well for us. Not efficiently, but it worked out, and it would be better to do it more efficiently this time, which is what we're trying to do, is get ahead of it this time, rather than trying to poke our fingers in the holes of the dike where the water's coming through. And again, I don't know if we have any better ideas. I don't know these people from Adam, but I know we need somebody. I don't want to go through what we did last year. It was too scary.
Well, we did spend a lot of money at the end of the year last year on zilch. I mean, he didn't really do anything for us at the end of that. What would we pay out on that one?
When you say
60,000.
zilch, we won. Now you can sit there and say, he had nothing to do with it, which.
Well, I'm talking about the money we paid somebody,
Obvious.
a lobbyist that towards the end of the year that never went through. And
Well,
so we spent it, but, precaution. We all voted for it, I voted for it.
well, and again, to go back to the thing, I don't feel real good about what our lobbyist did, and you could argue he was a failure. But when it was all said and done, we won. And in that sense, that's money well spent. And then, of course, that's my concern is, as long as you win at the end of the day, that's
We're
important.
talking, this is about the Chris Kennedy thing.
Yeah,
We didn't win because it never went through.
well, that's the point. Is
They
we
did,
didn't-
they stripped the bill out of the
Right.
tap fee legislation, so that was the win.
We
They
didn't
passed
want it to go through.
No,
Right.
We stopped it,
right.
Yeah,
so we won.
Okay,
right, right.
But like I said, it was a very ugly process, but.
$60,000 worth of ugly.
And I apologize, I did not ask them to come. They would have come to be here tonight.
I was
What
just curious,
did
I mean,
is I talked to them myself to see if it was worth it. We had a meet with, Dylan was there, but I asked, Josh came and Sam was on the line so that they could kind of vet since they'll be running. And I asked if, Art had made, last year, he was kind of interested in doing it. And so I asked if anybody wanted to be there, and I ran it by Dave. So I couldn't get everybody on the
That's
line
fine.
about it, but
I just,
made
with
sure the
everything
people
going
who
on in
were
the world, it's
interested
just the
last year
questions
was-
are coming up right and left everywhere.
Well, and I'll tell you, I'm not happy with the situation, but it's the sort of thing, it's a lesser of evils. The alternatives are worse.
Yeah, it's better not having any at all.
Yeah, because like I said, we tried to go without it at all. We almost lost.
I'm not questioning all you, I'm just questioning the process.
Well, I question myself all the time. It's like,
Well, I do too.
So I wanted to ask, I'm just looking ahead. To prepare for the 2026 legislature, what would be a good time for us to have this kind of discussion? In August, or
Right now.
how can we look ahead? Just jumping ahead, so we're
I think it should be, if we choose to renew with them. That would be for the budget discussion, like we tried to do last time, we just didn't have anybody lined up.
Okay.
I think
I think ordinarily people do it in the summer. So that way you can kind of get prepared, stuff like that. So when January first comes along, they're already hitting the ground running.
Well, I'm tempted to give it a try. It's expensive. And just keep a close eye on it. And by late summer, we'll have a good idea of its worth.
As far as for next year.
Yes, for 2026.
Okay.
It's an opportunity
Just-
around too.
Yeah.
So is this gonna be an ongoing thing from now on? Somebody's gonna try and get this passed every legislation session?
Very
Is
possible.
this something that we're just gonna have
I
to
don't
put in the budget as an ongoing expense?
I don't know,
Or
it
something?
sure sounds like it, they're still doing all this affordable housing things that. They're gonna impact us,
High density.
yeah,
Yeah, it seems like something's not gonna go away. And it may become hard to fight.
Well, I would say it's better to spend 60,000 and win than to spend nothing and lose. That really cost us
yeah.
big time.
Well, our legal expenses are slowly declining, so.
That's okay, baby.
I can't believe you said that.
And Dylan says he's gonna work half price now this year.
Yeah.
Half as much.
Are there any other questions? Can I, or anybody have a motion to approve?
I so moved.
Oh, Director Rickman moves,
I second it.
second by Director Martinez. Anything else? All in favor? Unanimous approval. All right, thank you. We'll see how it goes.
That was, yeah, for a single signature, do you want me to coordinate that, or do you want to sign it and send it to them?
I don't think, can I do that electronically? Do you want Sam to print it out? I can sign it now.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll send you the final.
And we already did the IRP. We are on to the Fed Center.
Oh, boy. Highlighted every meeting.
So just as a note,
Sorry.
yesterday afternoon, I received an email from Polly Jessen, who is counsel for the developer. Which I forwarded to you just this afternoon. It is essentially. We look forward to your meeting on the 11th. We look forward to you making a decision. If there are some attachments, they included some red lines to the draft development agreement. But their stated preference is that the private system be strongly considered by the board. Which is essentially you spin off this area out of the district. They construct it, they are responsible for the engineering and they're responsible for the environmental. And then they are further responsible for ownership, operations and maintenance of the facilities afterwards. And you would just be sending the water in and receiving the sanitary out. So that's a summarization of the correspondence, since I know you haven't all had an opportunity.
Yeah, I'm still not getting it.
I didn't need it.
That's from Cody Woods.
Well, I forwarded it, yes, so it would have been from me, and it would have been an email from Polly Jessen at Calvin Kirsch. The board.
I still can't get it, but in any case. Oh, that's all I can see from say, well. Won't vote on anything tonight, so we'll get it for next.
Put that in layman's terms. They wanna start their own district?
That's one of the possibilities. I don't know what their plan is, but it could be a special district, it could be a homeowners association, it could be some sort of other entity that does the management operations. But I don't believe that they made a firm decision about that. My understanding is that the red line includes district language, so as a placeholder, but I don't think that that decision was completely
Well,
final.
let's wait until we get into it and then, cause I got a lot of questions on this whole thing.
Sure.
Well, where would you like to get into it? I put down the things we need to talk about. They're all kind of overlapping. Does anybody have a place? The developer agreement. or that point of service policy.
So is this going to be, open to both our discussion or is this, we're going?
We
to
already did
exec-
that. No, this is just the, do we need an executive? on
Well,
this?
the public is present to watch this discussion, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a lot of questions about this whole thing that has arisen here in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Anything that has to do with employee layoffs, sale of Fed
All
Center,
sort of,
all of that has no bearing on us.
it does.
Okay,
I'm just
Tell me
wondering
why.
if we shouldn't consider, and this is a consideration, a moratorium like some other cities have done on all of our stuff until we figure out what's going on in the next 6 months. Due to the fact, just tonight, he was on there again, he's moving to lay off 30,000 employees at the federal center. This is coming from Trump himself on the line. And, I'm not saying he is or isn't, but the devastation of Lakewood, if that would happen, would kill a lot of things going on in Lakewood. Second of all, I'm concerned about the blight of the property. I don't understand that. Does that need discussion? Does that need discussion with all of us? That type of thing, I think it's gonna take time to do that. I last week was not here, but I was online listening to people and we haven't digested what was said last week with amongst the board. I think that we're rushing to judgment on this whole environment, and I look at it 2 ways. And this is my own personal belief, but I look at it 2 ways. They either got to pull away from this totally, like we've all discussed, or they would have to put up a pretty good sized bond to protect us from anything that we're gonna do on that property. So I mean, there's not a hybrid there anymore, in my opinion.
I think that that's probably correct.
There's two ifs or buts.
And I think.
And I'm willing to go forward with the 2 ifs or buts. But the one is we don't have anything to do with this property. And all we're doing is we're coming to this border right here and we're feeding them water. And we'll take the sewer on the other end and we'll out there, but we're not, involved in anything on that federal center. That's point one. Point number 2 would be, like I said, a 20-year bond for $100 million and to protect, the citizens and us of that thing there. If they get rid of 30,000 employees at the federal center, they won't sell any of that property. And that's not our responsibility, that's theirs. But I mean, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole until we figure out what Trump is doing and what the federal government is doing. I mean, he's dead serious about laying all these people off. And what do you do? So I'm just wondering if a moratorium for like 6 months just to see what pans out. I mean, on all properties, I mean, not just the federal center, but the one on Alameda, the one on the Point Athletic Club.
How are those related though?
They're all going to lose citizens from I would venture to say that, I don't know, and I'm guessing, but at least 80 to 90% of the people that work in the federal center probably live in Lakewood.
But our idea is to provide service.
Right. Service to what?
But,
That's what
well,
I'm saying.
that's not our concern, although I do feel for federal
Yeah.
employees, of course. But we don't take that into consideration normally if our property is going to sell or not.
Right,
We
we don't
just want
care.
to provide service.
Right.
And to me, this has been tested 6 ways to Sunday to be safe. I don't know how many agencies and engineering firms. I'm not pushing for it, but every indication is that it's safe and that we have a duty to serve.
Well, I can't adjust to saying it's safe.
Okay, I understand.
That's where I'm at right now. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not safe
totally
to me.
disagree with you on the safe issue.
Yeah.
What indications you're getting from people you have suspect information from. And I question their loyalty to the people versus to a corporation. So I don't trust that, and I don't think that property is safe from the get-go.
I don't, back to what I was saying, I don't care if it's safe or not. I'm just looking out for the constituents of Green Mountain. Are we gonna be do we want to hold the liability of this property after they build and leave?
Obviously.
We don't have liability.
We
when
would.
build and leave.
If they leave,
But if we're relying on the state and the EPA and the GSA, they've all come in here and told
the
us.
EPA said we are not ever going to build on that north side. They want to put on the north side into this, they want to do all sides now. They want to do the whole
What
property.
about the piece we're talking about now?
We're talking, they changed that, right?
Their preference is that any agreement that you come to include the northern.
That's right.
And that also includes their request
They're
to
gonna expand.
privately own and operate this. So they are asking
That
to,
gate,
to
so.
Okay, if they want,
take the entire.
and I'm all for that. I'm all for
Well,
that.
let me clarify, since we haven't read what they sent us today. This thing about they privately want to,
Mhm.
are they gonna form their own water district?
I believe the plan is to form a metropolitan district that has both water and sanitary services, yes.
But they would still be a member of our district?
I expect the exclusion would be
Yes.
an option.
Okay,
And
that's the question. If they're excluding, a whole different dynamic.
And it's kind of up to you, because them forming a district and not excluding requires your permission. So that's the consent resolution that came back several months ago. They asked to form the district within the overlap consent resolution.
Okay,
Conversely, you would have to allow them to exclude also.
Yeah.
So if they want out, they have to ask you. If they want to form a new district and stay in, they have to ask you.
okay. We're talking about that thing that came in November, 2 pages long and stuff like that. And I mentioned that overlap and stuff like that. That, of course,
No,
I don't want anything like we do with that. But if they're coming back and saying, I'm not overlapping, I'm excluding and forming my own district. If they want to exclude, I'm happy to let them go.
And I think that they would be entirely open to excluding so long as there is an agreement to provide service.
We're in agreement.
provide service. Then
Well, so
what service
you are
you provide?
currently obligated to provide them service on some terms. If they exclude, you will no longer be obligated to provide them service because they are no longer in the district. I think they would be willing to exclude with an agreement that you provide service to them. You put the water in and you take the sanitary out. Which would be, because it's a special district, probably, it would be an intergovernmental agreement.
It would just feel like the car wash down there. The car wash is putting in, we're putting in a pipe to them and taking stuff out.
Well, it would be like Fossil Ridge, actually. Fossil Ridge is not in your district, but you do provide them capacity in your tubes via intergovernmental agreement. Even though they are not in your district, they are in that fashion served by your district.
I do not have any problem with giving them water or taking their sewer, as long as we have no, that's the only obligation.
You would be in essentially the same relationship to this district, the Bend Metropolitan District, as you are to Bear Creek Water and Sanitation District.
Well,
And what do we
take exception to that, because Solterra or, what'd you just say, the one down at Bear Creek. Everybody's basically coming in clean. This is the only property that's got this cloud over it of contamination. That's a whole different animal in my mind.
Yeah.
And I don't think you treat it like Solterra or what you just said. It's a much higher standard, and I'm
Higher standard of what?
making sure that we somehow don't step into some sort of environmental problem where, I keep coming up to Love Canal. And it's like, if it, it turns out to be Love Canal and the residents are getting sick and they're busy suing everybody. And it's like, Green Mountain Water, didn't you help them do this sort of thing? Weren't you an accomplice? Weren't you enabling them to do all this?
Did you question the
Well, draw that-
property? 'Cause
draw
it's
that
all
out.
on record.
Draw that out a little bit. Who gives you your water?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And who takes your sanitary? It's Metro wastewater
Yeah.
recovery. So Denver Water is not concerned by this process, and they are in the same relationship to this property now as you would be under those circumstances. Similarly, Metro Wastewater Recovery is not concerned because it is not within their districts. It is not part of their service area. In like fashion, if you exclude this property and provide contractual services to them, nothing that happens there is your responsibility because it is not included in your district. Your bounds are your service area.
I
No,
I need a legal opinion on that, because my thought is.
That's what.
That's
what
illegal,
I'm doing.
that's your legal opinion on that.
Yeah.
So you're saying our legal exposure dies right at those boundaries, that they can't come back if something
We're
happens
no
there,
partnership.
and they decide to sue their district. They don't come back and say, we're gonna also sue Green Mountain because we found documentation, notes and everything that they knew that there was contamination there, and they had the ability to stop this, and they approved it, and they allowed this to go on and get built, and we bought our properties knowing that, these government agencies were there to help us, or should have helped us, make sure the property was a valid property. They can't come back and put us on that lawsuit?
That's correct.
Don't
Unless,
put us on that lawsuit.
No,
unless you put something into the water
Yeah, well,
that
that's,
goes in there,
that could come from.
you're
Denver.
not going to do that.
No, that could come from Denver, 'cause we don't put
And
it,
Denver's not going to do that.
we're not gonna put anything in the water, cause Denver, we get the water from Denver.
And here's every lawyer's dirty secret. Anyone can sue anyone for anything,
That's exactly right.
and it doesn't matter. Your neighbor could sue you because they don't like your blinds. That doesn't mean that they are going to win that lawsuit. So no lawyer will ever advise you or tell you that you can't get sued for something. You can and will get sued for something, especially as a government.
We'll get put on that lawsuit.
But your question should be, do I have any liability? Do I have any risk or exposure? Not, will I get sued? You will get sued.
Okay,
Okay,
You
my
do not
question-
have
then we're gonna incur
exposure.
lawyer costs because we're gonna have to defend ourselves on that lawsuit.
That happens by existing, yes.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to pay money if we get in bed with these people.
No, you're gonna have to pay money for existing. You get sued. You get sued all the time. It's a very normal process for a government.
This organization should be known for its lawsuit.
And it has nothing to do whatsoever
Yes.
with
So,
liability
so
associated
when you
with
take
the
when
property.
you take a step back at this property, you say, why get in bed with them? Why even take
You are in bed with them. They are offering you an opportunity to get out of bed with them.
Okay, but back to the question of Dylan, so this is not a partnership in any way.
well,
This
what
is
happens
a
if-
contractual
Okay.
agreement to provide them water and
when
to
you say-
receive their sanitary sewer.
Okay, why can't they get the water from Denver or from,
Because they are in your district. They are your.
they're gonna
customer.
go to their own district though?
That's the idea, yes, and you are the tubes between them. This only works, the exclusion process, them being a private customer, this only works if you are their tubes.
All right,
But the tubes also, Denver's right there and so is Consolidated, right on the borders.
And by the way, your key is it only works. Like, we don't necessarily have to make it work. They can connect with Denver Water and get
No.
water directly.
Why can't they?
okay, you're saying,
Denver's not going to do that.
we're saying we're obligated to
Sounds like a
provide
personal
water
problem. It's like,
to people.
Why do
You
we
always
have
claim
to be
that.
that connection between Denver Water and them?
Because you are their service provider.
Well, not if they leave.
They are not going to leave unless you provide them service.
It's 22, isn't it?
Yes, as a service
Well, we
provider, you
can't-
are
yeah.
obligated to provide service.
Or we can, they have to provide a big
Now,
bond.
let me finish with you, okay?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so we're obligated to provide service, and you're saying that should claim in that, right?
Yes,
Where are we obligated? Why are we obligated?
because you are a government entity that provides services. That is the sole
So does Denver, so does,
function and purpose
Okay,
of this
keep
district.
that thought. A couple of meetings ago, we voted down service to a single family house that was building.
Yes, because you do not have capacity. You are unable to provide that property service
Okay,
currently. However, as part of your capital improvement projects, you are going to be pursuing the ability to provide service to that property.
So if we have capacity, we are legally obligated to provide service to anybody who applies for a tap and sewer service.
You are essentially obligated to provide service to any property owner included in your district that you are able to provide service to. Yes.
Okay, so what if we as a board decide that we still wanna deal with that property over there, we don't like the property, we don't wanna have anything to do with it, and we vote it all down?
You will get sued and you will lose because that is an arbitrary and capricious decision that is contrary to the law.
That we
How
don't
can you
like,
be
what
sued?
law states that?
It's Colorado Rule of Civil Procedure 106A4. A judge will look at that decision and say, you have acted arbitrarily and capriciously, and you have acted contrary to your obligations. under
No,
state
we
statute."
deem the property to be unsafe.
That's not what you said.
What,
You
no,
said you don't want to.
no, we deem the property to be unsafe.
Okay, that is also going to be deemed arbitrary and capricious because every expert that has looked at this has determined that it is safe.
The EPA hasn't. The
Yes,
EPA said you will not build on that property if you have to dig farther down than 1 foot.
that,
That's their law, not ours. They put a thing on there for life.
that is in reference to the northern parcel.
Right, but they're talking about the whole.
They want to
property.
develop that.
They do. They are not providing plans for that at this point.
But
Well, we know
Nevertheless, that property is included in your district.
We know that, so therefore, if I say I'm not gonna develop because it's unsafe, the EPA is deemed it unsafe. What does the judge say then?
That's not true. It is not deemed an unsafe
It is.
development. No, you will just develop in clean corridors. There are processes that will be followed. I know that this is very frustrating to hear and that you do not like it and you do not believe me. But I'm giving you my absolute honest analysis of this situation.
Haven't any of you come up with anything?
Well, like I said,
You're saying that it's not safe. You're saying that it's not safe, but where these clean corridors are going in has been deemed safe.
not on the north property where they
You
want to
keep
develop.
bringing that up. That's not what I asked you.
I know.
I'm keeping, this property that will be developed,
Which is the part of the north property.
no. Only
Yes,
the south, you are,
they
no,
want to develop the whole
you
58
cannot
acres.
do that. You cannot. Right
Why can't
now,
I?
because all they're asking for
It's 58 acres of development.
is the south end.
No, they're asking for the north
They
end
are,
too.
they are not. They are asking for it to be
Wasn't it 2
included
weeks
in an
ago?
agreement. They are not asking for it to be developed.
Was
they
it
are
2
not.
weeks ago that they brought that up?
They asked for it to be included in
Or
the
2 months ago.
agreement for a metro district or for something else. That's developer agreement. They are not asking for us to go dig down into that landfill right now. Nobody's brought that up. So you guys keep bringing all of this up. And nobody has brought, I still have not heard anybody, all of the public hearings, all of this, whatever, nobody has brought up that there's anything unsafe about the south area. Where they're gonna be
Well,
digging
the
down and putting the
EPA
pipes in.
has said that it was not safe.
They say as long as you do according to the
Not-
guidelines
Not
that
to
he's,
dig up more than a foot.
you have to go according to the guidelines. So there's already a process.
Which the developer has agreed to.
They have done. So you
Well, I'm not,
go back to
yeah.
we keep going round about this. You're not gonna agree. I understand. We gotta figure this out because you guys you're never gonna agree.
Nope.
Even though I totally agree with Dylan. There is no way we will ever win a law case to say that the south end is not safe to build on because you guys don't like the north end. That's just two totally separate things. And we will be sued sooner rather than later if we keep going down this road. Where do you wanna go on the point of service? Do you wanna say, we're gonna divest ourselves and ask you to exclude? And we won't be doing anything with you ever? And possibly that you will have to have a service agreement in the form of an IGA later? Or are we just gonna keep going and ask for a bond?
well, I think one of two things. If I go to the hospital and I have a heart attack, I get a second opinion. Maybe we need a new lawyer. Maybe we should get a lawyer
You hire.
and we have that.
You absolutely, you are welcome to hire any attorney. that
Maybe
you
we
would
should,
like.
we get a second opinion.
We did hire a second opinion and Holland and Hart said the same thing.
I haven't heard them say, did you get anything back from what your questions were with them?
By the way, that was gonna be the other thing. Before proceeding, I would like to get those that resolved, and they said they would have something to us, next week, so I'd like to think about that first. Secondly, we talk about being safe. Well, it's like safe if you do all these sort of things, all these ifs. Well, if you leave out that if, it's not safe. It's not safe, and we have to somehow make it safe. Now, they're saying you can make it safe if you do these things. Maybe, maybe not. But anyway, the point is, it's not safe. We need to be on top of it. Thirdly, the situation that's going on with the Fed Center right now, before we start digging and start doing a lot of stuff, we ought to see, what's going on with the feds. Fourthly, I'm losing track of my numbers here. Want to see what's going on with this metro district. If they're doing a metro district and doing it all on their own, that's one thing. We don't have to get involved. Oh, capacity, that's the other thing. You're sitting there saying, oh, we can do it. Well, I don't know if we can do it or not. We talked a long time ago about having a study session that let's look at our total capacity for everything we're doing and see how this fits in. Right now, all I know is at one of these meetings, I asked Josh, can we kind of do it? And it's like, well, here's some lines and they kind of go there. I was like, well, I don't know, my eyes glaze over.
My eyes are glazing over. I can't believe you just said we need another study. I need a t-shirt that says Dave's gonna ask for a delay for another study session for something that he's brought up every month for the last 6 months. We can do it.
I'll have a t-shirt made tomorrow.
It's ridiculous.
Well, the point is.
Do we have any legal grounds for saying that we are not going to provide service because the federal center may close down?
No, that is.
No, and I'm not saying that
Oh.
for the vision. I'm saying that if it is closed down, there'll be a lot of property for sale. If he wants to sell that,
Okay,
that's fine. It's their loss, not ours.
okay, so that's off the
Let's-
table.
let's-
Great,
let's-
off the table. We're not talking about it.
Let's bypass that totally.
Love it.
But I am interested what Dave was having to
The-
say about he's asked, I don't know, 2 or 3 times about a study for the
Yes,
capacity in Green Mountain. We've
And-
never gotten that back.
well, that's probably because you haven't looked at it, because Josh has sent it to you several times.
Have you sent it to you?
Check your emails.
Yes, he did.
I didn't get
And
it.
we talked about it.
And
I
the
get my
point is,
email
I
every day.
don't understand it. It's like, well,
This
here's
is
a whole lot of numbers. here.
Incumbent upon you to
No,
come
no,
in
no,
and
no.
ask Josh then, this is
I
your
did,
things.
I did, and I
We
still don't
had
understand.
well, see, this is where we get into you're just delaying just to delay then.
We're not
This
delaying anything.
engineering,
I can't vote for something if I don't understand.
Can I ask, are we in legal jeopardy because we keep dragging this
Delaying.
out?
No, we're not delaying anything.
you're delaying.
No, we're
Yeah,
not delaying. We're
Well-
being,
Or due diligence is take the time to make sure
That's
it's
right.
right. Are we rushing to judgment here?
You will be sued sooner or later.
Well, and I don't have a problem with
like
it.
you just said, we'll all get sued sooner or later, no matter what we do.
If the
Typically, you try not to invite it.
Well, no, in this particular case, since we are in new ground, I don't want to be the one that sets the precedence.
Yeah,
For
let's-
saying what water districts should help developers try to pass off contaminated properties.
okay.
I would much rather a court come in and say,
This,
Green Mountain, you must do that. I
this
think they
speech
will.
we have heard before as well. So I'm just gonna cut this off. Once again, delay speech, delay speech, delay speech. Can I just cut to the chase? If we have a couple of decisions on the developer agreement and the point of service. What I'm hearing is that we will have 3 board members who will not vote or make a decision on this tonight. So are we having a motion table and we can just cut, because I can't. Is anybody gonna be doing anything tonight?
I moved the tape.
I second.
Okay, there we go. All in favor of tabling all decisions once again regarding the Fed Center? In favor, Director Wickman, Director Martinez, and Director Little. Motion carries. Director Wickman made the motion, Director Martinez seconded it, all against. That's me, and Director Wendell, Director Morgan are against tabling the motion. And I do not see any way that this board will proceed ever on any of these things. So in my opinion, the only way that this will be resolved for a service is to. That's where we're at, in my opinion.
There we're at.
Too many moving parts.
Okay,
You're gonna have one.
Like I said, if they would be willing to disinvolve us in any which way, for sideways, we all might, we might consider it.
Well,
But they're
that was
not-
your option
That was
to
the other,
do the point of service and we couldn't, you just decided not to discuss that. I'm not gonna put this on the agenda
Okay.
ever.
Okay.
And this will just be, this will be
That's good.
waiting for legal action to happen, because it's just a waste of time at this point, in my opinion. Okay. Excellent. And that means, is there anything that we need to, am I missing anything on this one?
I don't think so. I don't think that we need a executive session on that matter anyway. We can go into the next agenda, right?
All right, sounds good. Next agenda I have would be the executive session for the Ravine Bridge.
Well, you have.
Oh, do you have
some
just like
general-
legal stuff?
Yeah.
Thank you,
So,
sorry.
I did review the contract documents and the bid documents for the improvement project. I didn't review the bids themselves. Those were sent to the engineer and reviewed and routed through staff. But I think they did a fine job. And I reviewed the contract for the lobbyist and also modified the coalition agreement that I drafted previously and circulated that to the lobbyist for their review. And they had some minor revisions to that, which I made. I did send you the contract to be printed out for Karen to sign, so we can get that done. I forwarded to everyone the email from Developers Council earlier today, and I re-forwarded it just in case you didn't get it. And I forwarded the bill from the lobbyist that Director Morgan was talking about previously. For the last board meeting, you asked that I prepare a letter to be sent to the city of Lakewood. I did that. I sent that out to all of you for your review. I received comments from Director Morgan, which I incorporated into a second draft. And I can send that whenever you all have had an opportunity to review it and provide any comments. Or I can send that without further review.
I don't have any issues with it.
Okay,
I would like to ask questions about it. I thought there was something more with that, but can we
That's-
review it
that's
after
sufficient.
session? Okay,
I
And,
got it now.
okay, which, you got what?
Something from you dated,
It's a Valentine.
7:30,
Is it the?
34.
That's it.
called update.
Yeah, I got it too.
Okay, good. In general litigation updates, the lawsuit with former counsel Timmons is ongoing. My partner John Cody is here to speak to that if necessary, just briefly, but we're at the discovery phase. We've asked to depose her. That'll be happening in March 31st, and they have asked to depose Director Morgan and former directors Plotkin and Baker. So we will be coordinating. My office.
Why don't I ever get disposed? Because,
Well, the time will come. I could ask.
yeah, I'm famous for putting my foot in my mouth. I mean, man, I could shake it up real quick.
So, we will be coordinating the scheduling of those depositions. John will reach out to you.
And just as an update real quick, it's been very inactive. In the council, there's basically not much going on, so I was one that sort of pushed the depositions. I think we need to get. Facts determined, because facts are very stubborn things, and I don't think they have many, frankly. So I'm very confident in our case, our defense, and our counterclaims. Did you have something?
I am ready to go into the Ravine Bridge executive session, unless you have anything suitable for open session.
On the ravine?
Right.
No,
Alright.
but I just wanted to say something about Timmons case, and which is a bit of a segue backwards into what you were referring to about litigation. You have really, really good counsel that tells you what could happen, right? So our litigation clients don't sit at the table and the judge rules and looks at me and says, what just happened? How could that have happened? Our litigation clients don't have that experience, because it's Cody and Woods educates them, informs them of everything that could possibly happen. The spectrum of from win to lose. So with Federal Center, I think what Dylan's saying is really spot on about winning and losing. You can find attorneys that can tell you you're gonna win, and then you sit there and listen to the judge tell you just lost, that's not serving the client. So I think that's what Dylan's doing for you, in spades, but that's all I have.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
I know you do. I mean, you guys, you're doing fine.
So, unless you have any questions for general legal, you can move on.
Jordan, we got again.
Kicking you out, Dave. Submit your self-nomination form if you want to stick around for the executive sessions. And, Dave, I did get the forwarded email from Andrew, so I will address the questions that he thinks are appropriate for me to address.
We have a motion to go into executive session for legal advice on the Ravine Bridge.
I'll second.
Okay, my motion then, Director Little, the seconds, all in favor? Unanimous approval, let's go.
Alright. As the district's attorney, it's my opinion that the discussion of the matter announced in the motion to go into executive session constitutes privileged attorney communication. I'm therefore requesting that the recording be terminated until the executive session has been concluded. The time is now 8:02, and we are turning off the recorder. So the time is now 8:25, and we've resumed the recording because the attorney-client communication is finished. The executive session has been concluded. The participants were the board of directors, general counsel, and my law partner, John Cody. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Seeing none, the next agenda item is actions for.
I don't think we have any other actions from that, so I think we're on to new business. Anything else come to anybody?
I'll finish up that thought. So I saw the order, but I will decide 60 days. I interpret that as like, okay, on day 59, and go ahead and put that on your calendar right now. I assume they take the whole 60 days sort of thing.
I wouldn't lay much stock in the literalness of that. I think probably within the next 60 days, and I think that towards the end is probably right. But if it doesn't come out on the 60th day, it'll come out.
Well, I assume it's day 59.
Yeah. I imagine, don't hold your breath for 7 weeks. And then start looking for it, probably. That's my busy. That's my tea leaves reading.
Well, when it does happen, and you anticipate there's any further extensions, I change my mind and I want another 60 days, or will somebody file something that gums it up and drags it out, or
It's entirely possible that he will find that his schedule didn't permit him to prepare the order in time and he issued the new scheduling order, like, I'll get it out in 60 days, my apologies, but there are not going to be any additional pleadings. The case is closed.
Good, conjecture that way. Any other new business? For the record, if you ever have new business, the way that our agenda works is that you are emailed 2 weeks before every meeting. You have gotten an email from staff saying, if you would like to put something on the agenda or make any changes to the agenda, here's the draft, let us know. Staff is very diligent about that. They do it 2 weeks ahead of time. Anybody can put something on the agenda. That's how the agenda is set. That's how it's been set for a couple of years now. So
Okay, I just asked a question.
now you know. That'll come up again. You'll get it next time too.
well,
Good.
the question, there was a couple items on here, it's like, well, we didn't recognize. I was like, well, I didn't do it. Did you do it? No. Like, well, who did it? Did Karen do it? Did Josh do it? It's like, who did come up with this idea?
Josh compiles, somebody, staff compiles all of these suggestions. the way that we work is if we put everything on the agenda, and if somebody wants to make a motion to take it off, we can do it at the meeting, but that way we can put things on that come up in between.
Is there any chance of getting this packet sent out earlier?
No,
If we get it on Friday and we have a meeting on Tuesday, sometimes you don't get to the email or get to see it.
right, and that's because they put all of the financials in that are done that day, so that you have the latest and greatest. So there's not too much room for people there, they are working up until they send it out.
Yeah. I suppose you could change your board meetings to the third Tuesday, give some additional running.
Well, it's just sometimes it's hard to get that right away and,
Right.
you know, see what's going on.
Well, like in this one, there was a couple things that, we didn't recognize. The developer agreement, because I assume that was the thing came out in November. Then we had this, determine next steps. But anyways, the one was like point of service policy. I was thinking, well, I suppose we mentioned it at a meeting, but other than that, I was like, I don't know what the heck that is. And then it's like, who'd ask?
Well, that was, you could have asked Josh, you could have asked Dylan, he wrote the options. We did talk about it at the last meeting, it was all in there, and I brought it up probably 4 or 5 times, because that was Jeff Baker's original suggestion, so it's been out there for at least a year for that point of service option.
Okay, so like, for instance, if I wanted to ask somebody about that, if you kind of indicated who. Often, well, like in legislature, somebody is the bill's sponsor. So okay, if you have questions, talk to the sponsor. So like in these things, like if I brought up something, then of course, ask me. But if I wanted to ask somebody about that point of service, who would I ask?
You can always, like I said, Josh knows everything. Dylan knows these things, I know most things, help yourself. Since this is not on the agenda, and this is just procedural crapola, call the meeting adjourned at 8:30, should be done. Thank you all.
Thank you.